right to it. Boom, ready?
Yeah.
Ready?
Welcome to Crosstown Cardboard, episode 85, with my great friend Craig at New York City Sports Cards, the math teacher, the soccer coach, originally from Long Island, but now in New York City, and myself, Carmine, at Carmine's Cards, from Austin, New York, but now a sports storyteller down south in Greenville, South Carolina. And, Craig, the topic, much like ourselves, is all about one-of-ones for episode 85. What makes a one-of-one special is what we're calling it, because these days there's a bunch of one-of-ones. It's a little bit ironic because, these players nowadays have like 1,000 one-of-ones. Like if you think of Trevor Lawrence, and he's been in the league a few years now, how many one-of-one cards might this guy have? Probably, around 1,000, just a guess, of all the different categories, brands, subsets of every card that has come out of him in the years that he's been in the league and college as well. So what makes a one-of-one special? Because it's not just that it is a one-of-one, because that doesn't mean as much as it once did, because there's so many one-of-ones. So Craig, your initial overarching thought about this topic for episode 85, and then we're also going to share some examples shortly after that.
I think you are onto something with the Trevor Lawrence. I remember reading a stat somewhere that pretty much everything that you just said, that he has over 1,000 one-of-one rookie cards, which is just insane. Takes away from it. I remember the days of growing up, trying to think the first one-of-one I ever pulled was 2005 Fleer Patchworks baseball. I've referenced this before. It was a Kurt Schilling game-worn MLB logo, and it was a one-of-one. What made that one-of-one so cool? Like, what made it a one-of-one? The fact that it was the entire MLB logo on a card. It's a one-of-one because you can't just make multiple copies of that.
Right.
And I think that's what is going to drive this conversation. Like, what makes a one-of-one so special and so unique, like something that you can't replicate. That's what a one-of-one should be, right? Something that you can't replicate. I can go a million directions with this. Do you have a place that you want to start?
Well, before we get into the cards, I just want to mention that both of us have picked up several one-of-ones recently. I know I have a few one-of-ones in my personal collection, but then also to flip and continue to fund the hobby and make some money and enjoy the financial part of it. And you were recently talking about the Michael Vick one-of-one that you bought and then sold for a profit. I know you've done that with Jude Bellingham at the National. You got that one-of-one, sold that for a profit. And I think, to me, one of the most interesting parts of the one-of-ones is the difficulty to comp them, find a comparable sale, and then the risk reward that you can get from selling it for what you perceive to be the value is and buying it at what you perceive the buying value to be, so you have a margin. Because when it's a one-of-one and it's a cool card, a unique one-of-one, which is kind of almost an oxymoron, it kind of should be unique. But that is kind of the interesting part of it to me, or one of the interesting parts, because when you have a one-of-one, you can kind of set your own price and wait until you get that price. But at the same time, there's nothing to go off of, or very few comparable sales to go off of to justify that price. So it's kind of like a made up value, more so than if you had a bunch of comps to go off of.
And that's the appeal. There are plenty of people in this hobby who have a lot of one-of-ones. That's kind of their thing. They buy and sell one-of-ones, and it's for your exact reason. You kind of have the flexibility to set the price yourself. I get it. There aren't exact comps. You look up similar comps. You can look up players from the same set. I get the appeal from a buying and a selling standpoint. You could set the price. There's no comps on it. But if we're just talking straight collecting, what actually makes it special? So here's an example recently that came up. As you know, we all have people and friends in this hobby on Instagram that if a cool Larry Bird card shows up, someone's going to send it your way.
Yep.
People send Knicks cards my way. I love it, and I'm grateful for it. So very recently, I saw an Eli Manning dual patch, numbered 101. So I sent it to a couple of my Giants friends. even though it really wasn't the sexiest card.
Mm-hmm.
I sent it over anyway. It was
Yeah.
a 101 Eli Manning dual patch. And I think what neither of my Giants friends were interested, by the way, because what it came down to was there's nothing sexy about this card. It was
Yeah.
a pretty basic 2-color patch. It might as well have been not numbered, but there was just the 1-of-1 stamp on it. But
Mhm.
there was nothing cool about it beyond the 1-of-1 stamp. You
Yeah.
might as well have just taken the 1-of-1 stamp off, and here you have a pretty basic Eli Manning 2-color patch. So there's a perfect example where, yes, it's a 1-of-1, but there's nothing unique. There's nothing special about it beyond that 1-of-1 stamp. So we're using the 1-of-1 term and the stamp a little too loosey-goosey, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, the 1-of-1, it's good because we're starting off with a low bar as far as the 1-of-1, and then we'll build up to the special 1-of-1 cards, I think, a little bit later. But here's another example to reinforce that same point here, Craig, is this JJ Redick Obsidian Lightning Strike sticker auto 1-of-1. You see the 1-of-1 here on the back if you're watching on the YouTube. And thanks to anyone who's stuck with us now for close to 100 episodes. And definitely like and subscribe and comment if you haven't yet. That is not a cool 1-of-1. No offense to JJ, and I know he's a competitor of us, as we've mentioned. We don't like to shout out our competitor podcast, but for me, it was cool because I got this in a 3-card JJ Redick lot, and I paid a good price for it. I think I'm only into this 1-of-1 for like $90. So it makes sense for me to have it as far as like a flipping opportunity. But like you said, it's not a cool 1-of-1. It's a sticker auto, and it's just kind of a regular autograph card.
Basically, if you take the 1-of-1 stamp off of it, you could probably acquire that same exact card. It looks the same for a much less price.
And I think that's a good barometer to measure if a 1-of-1 is really special. Like if you took the 1-of-1 off of it, which of course jades your opinion because you're like, ooh, 1-of-1, wow, now it's super cool. But if you take the 1-of-1 away from it, is it still cool? I feel like that might be a good way because we like to add value to the hobby. That might be a good way to think about it. Like, okay, if I take the 1-of-1 stamp or 1-of-1 serial numbering off of this card, do I still like it?
When you hear 1-of-1 in this hobby, on the count of 3, what color do you think of? 1, 2, 3, black.
Black.
Okay. We weren't exactly in sync there, but close enough.
Yeah.
So we associate 1-of-1s with black, right? I think
Right.
we could credit Panini for that one, like the true black 1-of-1 prism.
Yeah.
But I think we've gone to the point where anything beyond the true black, it's all this, all right, well, now we've got black disco, black no huddle,
Gold
black
vinyl.
black shimmer. And they're kind of taking the allure away from the 1-of-1s. So recently, I had a Jarrett Jack, solid NBA player, great long career.
Yeah.
I had his mosaic black 1-of-1 sticker auto. I ended up selling it, I think, for $60. But
Sticker auto, you said?
sticker auto, mosaic black. It was 1-of-1. It
Okay.
was kind of the card was just like, there's no reason. No offense to Jarrett Jack. There's no reason a sticker auto of Jarrett Jack should go for $60. You could pick up Jarrett Jack autographs for probably $5, $10 all day.
Right.
Even though it was mosaic black, it wasn't like that true black that pops. So
Yeah.
it was the black color. There's a 1-of-1 sticker on the back. That shouldn't be a reason why something sells for more than it really.
But why not? Why not? I mean, a 1-of-1, that's the manufactured rarity, don't you? I mean, don't you think that if you're a Jarrett Jack collector or a Portland Trailblazers dude, wouldn't that make you more interested in the card?
I suppose. I just when you see the true black prisms, they pop, right? So the Michael Vick that I just sold, I think because it's the true black, there's no more pattern to it. It's just like bright and bold black. That's the appeal to it. This was kind of wavy. It was kind of like an off black. It wasn't for, I mean, maybe I'm a bit hypocritical saying this considering I picked the card up in the first place, but it just goes to my point is somewhat there's nothing that sexy about the card that's like, wow, this is unique. Look how cool and different this is. There's nothing like it. There's plenty like it. Just a slightly different color.
There's plenty like it, just without the one of one numbering.
Right. Yeah, that's my point.
But let me ask you this: when you're evaluating that and you're deciding to buy it, how do you say to yourself, this could be a good card for me to buy to flip? And then why take a risk on a player like Jarrett Jack?
That particular instant, I was at a shop, hot corner in Brooklyn, and I brought in a bunch of stuff to trade. I just wanted to do reshuffling, essentially.
Okay. Okay.
And they had that available. It was like the only thing like it in the store. I'm like, I'll give it a try. I'll take a chance on this one. I ended up more or less breaking even on it. That was the only reason. Otherwise, I don't see that in a show or a shop typically. Be like, wow, I need to have this.
Yeah.
It was just kind of circumstantial.
Okay. Well, that's a good lesson though, too. You know, what are the circumstances in which you pick up these cards? So let me ask you this, as far as a different topic on the one of ones, your thoughts on the black box and white box one of ones. I know we haven't really totally prepared for that exact topic, but I see you have the thumbs down. You're not a big fan of the black box or the white box one of ones.
Correct, because most of them just look like the basic regular card. They
Yeah.
just stamped the black box 101 on it. Or not even stamped, it's like a sticker, right?
Yeah. Now it's
So,
a sticker. It used to be a stamp with the earlier ones. Like I had that Rob Gronkowski notable nicknames Gronk on there. That had a stamp, one of one white box or black box from the
I
National.
remember. Yeah.
But now they're just the circular stickers on the back. You're right.
It goes back to my point with Eli Manning. If you remove that one of one, is there anything sexy about that card? Or does it look like a basic card? If you granted, a lot of the black box and the white box 101s are typically on nicer cards, but
Right.
it looks like a regular version of that card. They just stamp something on it. The Eli Manning patch looked like a regular old patch card with just a 101 stamp on it.
Right. A lot of them will be the same exact, flawless out of 25, out of 15, out of 10, out of 5. And the white box one of one is the same exact design. So let me ask you this, because I recently picked up this Jim Brown flawless auto numbered 5 out of 5 with him in the yellow Hall of Fame, or I shouldn't say yellow, it's really gold. Let me give the proper reverence to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. And Cleveland, Ohio's finest, Jim Brown, is who's featured on this card, numbered 5 out of 5 on card auto. So I'm interested, how do you value a white box or a black box one of one versus the same card numbered out of 5? So like if the white box one of one Jim Brown auto went for, I think, like $750, what would you value the 5 out of 5 at in that scenario?
Personally, without doing any research, understanding that the 5 of 5 was pack pulled and the 1 of 1 was like an extra in a white box, like from the National or something. Personally, I would value them the same.
Yeah.
I'm assuming if the black box 101 did 750, then your out of 5 is probably 500. If I just had to guess, I don't look at it that way. But
Really?
hey,
No,
I don't make the market.
I think your logic is how at least I looked at it, and I think a lot of other people, that would be an interesting like survey question, or if anybody wants to comment on the podcast or YouTube and say, well, if the same card numbered out of 5, or let's say numbered out of 10 even, how does that compare to a white box or a black box one of one of the same card? Because I think if I'm collecting this, because it has that authentic, this card was, like you said, pack pulled or in a box, it has a different vibe to it, even though it's numbered out of 5 instead of the white box, black box one of one, which kind of has the manufactured, almost not of the hobby in the same way as something that's actually serial numbered. So to me, I think you're right. I think they're equal.
But let's turn this around and make a positive.
Okay.
What attributes are you looking for in a 1 of 1 card that's like, oh, I could see why this is 1 of 1. It's unique. There's not much like it. And I'm going to kick us off with probably one of my favorite parallels I would say the general hobby consensus would agree this is one of the most iconic parallels. I believe it debuted in 2005. Topps Chrome Baseball, and you probably know where I'm going with this.
Okay.
Superfractors.
Oh yeah.
Now, you could make the argument, sure, that superfractors, it's just the same thing as the base card, but with a different design.
Right.
You can really say that about parallels in general. For me, it just strikes a chord in me. I don't know what it is. I see the superfractor design and just something strikes my brain like, wow, this is cool. Maybe it
Yeah.
takes me back to my days of collecting Topps baseball in the mid 2000s, looking at pack odds and seeing how unbelievably difficult it was to pull a superfractor. So
Right.
something about the lure of the rarity.
Right.
So here's my one superfractor that I have. It's from the 2022 National in Atlantic City, Weston McKinney superfractor in a PSA 10. And just something about those circular rounds. It's got a bunch of layers on it. Just that design. It just hits something with me that I can't even explain it. And I'm sure many would agree. There's just something about the superfractor and the longevity of it
Mhm.
where I think that's a really good point that I just came up with. Whereas these new black mosaic, no huddle, sure, it's a one of one. This has been around for 20 years, this
Yeah.
parallel. And I
And
think,
there's only one of one. There's only one of those one of ones
yes,
in every set. So it's
great
not
point.
like there's multiple versions of the parallel. Like the superfractor is the only one of one from those sets. And plus, um, you kind of went back to one of the things that you've talked about several times, Craig, on the podcast, as far as the continuity of that superfractor one of one being in every year set and crossing different sports and people knowing that's the one of one. I mean, even Star Wars superfractor one of one. That's like, it's spanned even outside of sports into, pop culture cards as well.
And I think if you look at it, you have a superfractor in front of you, the design pops. There's something different about it that you don't really see a lot.
Hmm.
And I think that is what the uniqueness is.
Yeah,
What do you
that's
got
a
for
great
me?
point. Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with what do you look for in a one of one? That's a great question because you shouldn't just be, I mean, I shouldn't say that. You can hobby however you want to, but in my opinion, you can't just be um brainwashed by, oh, it's a one of one, and no matter what it is, then just go for it because you have that manufactured rarity. So like if I'm looking for a one of one, like to me, I really like one of one game used patches or game used laundry tags.
Hmm.
So like I'll give you three quick examples of cards I picked up within the last week here. This Big Poppy David Ortiz one of one National Treasures retro materials big piece of the letter patch. And if you look close, you can actually see some of the jersey is like frayed. So maybe he you know slid into, well, he probably wasn't doing a lot of sliding on the base path.
Yeah, definitely not.
Maybe he swung so hard that the material frayed a little bit. But to me, this is like really cool. Jumbo game used patch, one of one in the National Treasures cursive that they put on there. So I don't know. I'm a sucker for like a one of one game used patch. Like check this one out. I just got, I don't know if you saw this on my story. This Russell Westbrook National Treasures game gear, game used Adidas laundry tag. I mean,
Yeah, I saw it in focus the first time. There it is.
yeah, there you
Hold
go.
it closer to the camera, closer
Yeah,
than you would think.
there you go.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
So that's pretty cool from his Oklahoma City Thunder days. So what am I looking for? A cool card by itself. If I'm looking for a one of one and evaluating, like I think, we kind of came up with some good stuff like throughout this conversation, this card therapy, getting those thoughts out there. And is this card cool without the one of one serial number on it? This David Ortiz, I'd be interested in this chunky game used patch no matter what the numbering. Of course, the price has got to be right as well. And that's the next layer of it. But like this Russell Westbrook, game used laundry tag from his time with the Thunder, remembering his triple double season when he averaged a triple double, his MVP. That to me is cool, no matter if it's a 1 of 1 or not. And then I also picked up this one, this Bo Jackson in the Kansas City Royals uniform, BGS 95, another game used laundry tag. And this card's super cool. Again, no matter if it's a 1 of 1, if it's numbered out of 25, whatever it is. But I think along with the 1 of 1, a lot of times you get those items like the game used laundry tag with the Westbrook and the Bo Jackson. So to me, that comes along with the 1 of 1, and it's an extra added cool part of it that sets the card apart more so than just it being a 1 of 1.
Right. Like that card has to be a 1 of 1. Because if you have a Bo Jackson uniform, you could only take out RAW from Rawlings one time.
Yeah.
Just like if Panini has a Russell Westbrook uniform, how many Adidas logos are there on that uniform? You could literally only use it
but I
once.
mean, they could use other jerseys. They could get other jerseys
Sure.
throughout the season. But like usually they don't do, I mean, usually something like a laundry tag, that is a 1 of 1, or sometimes a 1 of 3, or, out of 5. But usually if it's that cool, you get the added layer of it being a cool card on top of the serial number. So yeah, I agree with you. I mean, that's why I got it. I just think it's super cool. And I think they're, have long-term investment opportunities too, which we'll get to, I think, in our next episode. That'll be our next topic of what qualities do we look for in an investable card. And, we'll put that into action because we'll show what cards we've actually invested in and what qualities, pertain to that. But, I think that's a really good thing to go back to. Like, how cool is this card without the 1 of 1 on it? And then that adds a bonus, obviously, to it, that it's a 1 of 1, but it has to have that foundation of being cool, meaningful, or valuable to you without the 1 of 1 label.
Sure. I actually don't really have many in my collection. I don't know why that is in particular, but going back to patches, like a logo man, I can't wrap my head around the fact that some logo man cards are not 1 of 1s.
Yeah.
Imagine getting a game worn logo man, but it's out of like 3 or out of 4, which some of those do exist.
Yeah.
That just wouldn't quite do it for me.
No.
But here's one patch that I have. This is one I got recently. The Julius Randle Kentucky patch. Now, at first glance, I look at this and I think, like, really cool card. Pretty unique.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be convinced that this should be a 1 of 1.
Right.
But when you peel back the layers, there is not a lot of college game worn stuff.
Right.
Not to mention, I think that letter, is the K from Kentucky.
Yeah, it could be.
So in that sense, there's really not much else like it.
Yeah.
So
I think though it's cool. It's not like a laundry tag or anything, but still being a game used college uniform, it makes sense that it's pretty rare.
Yeah. Where do you stand on printing plates?
I'm not a big fan of printing plates.
Me neither.
And I think a lot of people are not, which is why you see the value of them not very strong. So yeah, I mean, I honestly kind of feel bad because you think they should be like, they're a cool, and they have the unique element along with being a 1 of 1 of being a printing plate, but it just doesn't, for some reason, the hobby hasn't determined that that's actually cool.
Yeah. I mean, they don't look great and they're not 1 of 1s because there's multiple printing plates for that card. So you could actually get all 4 printing plates that were all used for this one card. So it's 4 different 1 of 1s. So that's not really a 1 of 1. Obviously, there are extenuating circumstances. Shout out to our friend Andrew, St. Croix collector, who gifted me this printing plate.
Okay.
So obviously, I'm going to keep that.
Yeah.
Because it was a gift, and it's a Weston McKinney 1 of 1. Pairs very nicely. So here's my Weston McKinney 1 of 1 collection.
There you go.
And I have to shout out my friend Al, who is Level Up Cards, also NYC Hoops collector. He's in the Knicks card group chat. Very good friend of mine. One of the most desirable, sought after cards in this entire maybe history of the hobby that is yet to be uncovered.
Whoa.
Is yet to be uncovered. is the 2009 Topps Chrome Stephen Curry Superfractor. Can you picture Stephen Curry, Topps rookie, babyface?
Yes.
Okay. So Topps, it wasn't Topps and Topps Chrome that year. It was just the Topps product, but there were Chrome cards in the product. I used to rip so many of those jumbo packs for like $10 a piece. The Stephen Curry Superfractor rookie has yet to be seen.
Really?
Yet to be seen. So that's why if you have sealed wax of that product, it's incredibly sought after. Now,
that's another great topic for another time, is the sealed wax investment.
And although the superfractor has not been uncovered of the Steph Curry rookie, in theory, what would be the next best Steph Curry Topps rookie you can get?
They're like a gold.
They have the gold. Yeah, no, true. There's the Topps Chrome Gold out of 50, but they make printing plates from Topps.
Oh, okay.
So my friend Al, who was able to not only find one of those Steph Curry Topps rookie printing plates, but he actually got it signed. And I don't know if you've ever seen this. No. He just like you paid for your Patrick Ewing to get signed, he paid for the Steph Curry. You got to see this. I mean, this thing's unbelievable. And he had Steph Curry sign it and actually write true 1 of 1 on it.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So this is Steph Curry, and you could see it's not the Topps Chrome Superfractor, but it's the Topps Chrome printing plate that made his Topps Chrome rookies.
Yeah.
So he uncovered that card. He got it signed by Steph Curry, like, whatever, they do his private signings, and had Steph write true 1 of 1 on it. That is freaking cool.
That adds a whole nother layer of coolness by that inscription. Wow. Okay. So, I mean, now that printing plate scenario is different.
Sure.
Than usual, being an all-time star or a Hall of Famer, fringe top 10 player of all time, possibly. And, one of the best of our generation. But I mean, his iconic rookie card and the 1 of 1 hasn't been found. So now you're kind of vying for what the real, and as Steph Curry proclaimed, that's the true 1 of 1 for now.
So in having this conversation, just kind of makes me think and reflect. Don't be so blinded when you hear that this card is a 1 of 1. Like, beyond that 1 of 1 stamp, what makes that card special?
Right.
That's just something to think about.
I mean, that's what I was thinking about when I picked up this 1 of 1, Craig, the first time we met in person at last year's National. Of course, the Larry Bird 1 of 1 flawless patch auto, game used, big piece of the letter. And this would be a card, first of all, obviously my favorite, guy to collect, my number 1 PC guy. I actually went through my Larry Bird collection, and I have 13 different Larry Bird autographs. And it was funny because I was talking to my dad, and he said, how many of those are like all-time collection pieces that you think will really stand the test of time? And I told him I think 7 out of the 13 are really ones that I would, almost like your Weston McKennie Superfractor. Like, you might have other Weston McKennie cards in your collection that you don't believe in as much as far as the value of those long term, but you still think they're super cool to you. So it was interesting to go through, talking to somebody who's not really in the hobby, and my dad, what do I think will really stand the test of time versus what am I collecting just because it's cool to me and it's Larry Bird. So 7 out of 13, with Mark Zablo on the last episode talking about Bleecker, we were explaining, like, you're going for a batting average as far as success rate rather than free throw percentage sometimes. And if you haven't checked out that interview, definitely go back and watch or listen to episode 84, because it goes through all of Bleecker Trading's history, the legendary New York City card shop, and the business mindset, and risk taking and all that entrepreneurial
business heavy episode. I like it.
Yeah. So that was cool. But back to your point, Craig, as far as the factors that you evaluate, like, it's my favorite player, it's my main PC guy, it's my favorite brand and flawless, next to exquisite, but of this era, flawless is my favorite. It's my favorite type of card, which I think you also agree, game used patch with an autograph on the card. And then the 1 of 1 is an added bonus to make it like, wow, this is now a grail card. but this is a card that I would definitely be interested in, regardless of the 1 of 1 label. And all the 1 of 1 label really changes for me is, where does this card rank in my collection? Like, how badly do I need it now because it's actually really rare? And then, of course, the value of what I had to pay for it, or I actually mostly traded into it, added some cash. And then, what could I possibly sell it for if I one day did decide to sell it? And right now I'm into it for 5,100 on this Larry Bird 1 of 1. Now, if this is like numbered out of 15, this is like, $1,000, $1,200, around that range type of card. So now you're talking multiple times more for the 1 of 1, but at the same time, it's an all-time collection piece that I think once you get a card that is in that top few percent of a player's cards, now you're looking at something that could, increase over time, or you could hold for whatever you want to sell it for if you do end up wanting to sell it. So that's where, coming back to the value conversation, I'm into this for 5,000, but why can't I ask 8,000-9,000 for this if I wanted to sell it?
It is a 1-on-1 at the end of the day. And I'll end with this one, piggybacking on yours. I totally forgot I had this until about a minute ago.
Okay.
You talk about a 1-on-1. We love patches. Favorite team. Speaking of patches, Patrick Ewing.
Yeah.
This actually wasn't pack pulled. It was one of those Panini bonus packs, but not from like Panini Father's Day. It was Panini Day in 2020.
Okay.
It's a Patrick Ewing game worn patch. 1-on-1. Look at that 1-on-1 stamp on the front. I think that adds a nice little touch to it that the 1-on-1's on the front.
It does.
So I asked myself, why is this a 1-on-1? What makes this special?
Yeah.
It's that logo right there. That's like the old school Knicks logo. It's not that common. You're not going to find a lot of Patrick Ewing game-worn patches with the old Knicks logo. So I feel like the 1-of-1 is justified in this case because there really is not much like it.
Yeah, that's a great point. The 1-of-1 like that with the Knicks logo, the 1-of-1 with the laundry tags that I showed, that definitely factors into it. Like, is there a reason this is a 1-of-1?
That's it. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Right. Like, there are reasons that those cards that we mentioned are 1-of-1s. Is there a reason that this JJ Redick is a 1-of-1 other than them just deciding to throw a 1-of-1 on it? No. So that might be a good differentiator also. If you think, is there a reason that this card is a 1-of-1? What about this card sets it into the 1-of-1 category? And if it doesn't have something that does, like it's not a laundry tag or it's not a logo, then maybe it doesn't have as much weight as you truly might think a 1-of-1 should have.
And if you want to play devil's advocate, okay, then why are these black prisms 1-of-1s? Like, what's their reason other than the fact that they're just black? Well, that's what Panini decided on a decade ago. And then that goes back into continuity. It's already established itself.
And I think if it's an iconic brand, it's much different as far as the 1-of-1, like your Superfractor. If it's the Superfractor 1-of-1, if it's the Prism Black 1-of-1, those hold different weights than just it's an absolute football 1-of-1. Like if it's a lower brand or a lesser known brand and it's a 1-of-1, it's not going to hit the same as this is the franchise flagship set of this generation. And it's a 1-of-1 of that. That's a way different category than, whatever random brand 1-of-1.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how many times we said 1-of-1.
A lot more than one.
Yeah, definitely more than one. Not as many as the number of Trevor Lawrence's 1-of-1 rookie cards, but still plenty of times.
True. It's somewhere in between that and the other one.
All right.
All right, bro. So we'll come back. By the time this actually drops, we're recording a couple in a row here because I'm going to the homeland with the Paisans. I'm going to Italy for 2 weeks with my mom. So you think I can find a card store in Italy?
I'm going to Greece in the summer, and I already had the same thought.
What are you going to get, a Giannis?
Whatever I can get my hands on. But yes, I bet you can find a card shop in Italy.
Because we got to think of the of course they're going to have Giannis is going to be a legend in Greece. I mean, that's in his nickname.
You're going to find some footy cards, that's for sure.
You think Andrea Pirlo might
definitely, maybe even Mike Piazza.
Oh, like American Italians?
Paisans.
Okay.
All right.
We'll see. Maybe I'll find a Robert De Niro Pop Century.
Very nice.
All right, bro. Well,
All
we're
right.
going to talk about the investment potential of cards. So, like, what makes something an investable card for both of us in the next episode, which, will be in a few minutes for us, but it'll be in a week for the viewers and listeners. And yeah, I think that's what we got coming up.
Cool. Peace.